So I'm going to do a little research on integration after desegregation in Warren Wilson College, just because. So I guess I'll start with the OWL search engine. Just get all sorts of resources there. So Warren Wilson College integration. So I got a bunch of books. Let's see. College. I clicked on the college that pioneered integration in the South, because if that is about Warren Wilson, that sounds very interesting. It would also suggest that we had some unique history. I guess that one's not loading. We'll just leave it open in case it does decide to load. Midwest meatpacking is not relevant, so we're going to skip that. Disordered eating in women is not relevant. Marketing plans. Okay, clearly need to refine my search. Put racial integration. Okay, Jim Crow, post-racial America. That's not narrow enough. Ethnic and racial minorities in the U.S. military is not narrow enough. Not relevant. Indian resurgence in Brazil. Not a good search. Refine it again. Racial integration in schools popped up. Seems like good search. Regional strategies for racial integration of schools and housing. That does sound interesting. Law and inequality. So, based on law, it should be a reliable source. Copyright 2011, so it's also relatively recent. Single district desegregation effort. This is very economic driven. This looks like it might be a good source to use for finding lawmakers' basis for racial integration and the need. But I definitely would need to find another source based on more of the emotional aspect of it, what individuals thought of it, and how it's relevant to just Warren Wilson. Malaysian, not helpful. Politics, race, and schools, racial integration from 50s to the 90s. It was an educational study, so at least it's probably accurate. But when was it conducted? This is specific to Dayton, Ohio, not useful to me. So the original source loaded, college that pioneered racial integration in the South. This is specific to Warren Wilson, I believe. Yes. Talking about our first, quote, black student, Alma Shippey, in 1952. It was also student-driven. The Warren Wilson students voted 54 to 1 to allow her to enroll. Very open-minded even in the 50s. also goes on to mention that earlier in the 40s, we still admitted Japanese families from California during the World War II scare. All of our lovely Japanese internment camps. President actually encouraged Alma to apply. Interesting. He, not a she, graduated from an all-black school to an almost all-white school. This was 2 years before Brown versus Board of Education even happened. Talks about how his classmates actually wouldn't eat in restaurants that wouldn't serve a black student and sat in the black section at the movie theater. He dropped out and joined the U.S. Army. Does not say why. I would look into that because that could be very interesting. So we can go back to the college search engine. Search his name and dropout. And there doesn't seem to be any useful sources based on Handbook of Herbs and television shows. Does not relevant whatsoever. So we would have to go to the web for that information, I guess. And this was just a small single article based on Alma Shippey, but it was a useful article. So now I would probably, since I can't search the web right now, I would probably go towards go back and read up on the law requirements after Brown versus Board of Education happened. So let's search Brown versus Board of Education, search engine. I'm sorry, I don't know what eschatological is, and it says sexuality, so we're going to ignore that article. Uncle Tom's Cabin, while a great book, is not a useful source right now. That's realistic fiction. A personal reflection on Brown versus Board of Education. I'm clicking on this not because I would necessarily cite it in my article or my paper, depending on what I was writing, but because it might help to get some insight into what it was like living at the time. Legalized segregation in this country. The Brown decision was the juggernaut. Yes, I agree, but that's personal opinion. It does also say the issue was that one race minority must be separated from another majority, and that's only establishing black versus white, not even including the other races or ethnicities in America at the time. It does say that this author, written by Joseph Robertson in 2004, was the first person in his whole family to graduate with a degree after Brown versus Board of Education occurred, to graduate from a 4-year institution. He says, "I have no illusions that were it not for the impetus provided by the mandate to take affirmative steps, I would not have been given consideration by the venerable university," which was UVA. So this article, or this writing, suggests that it was a positive, and obviously I would agree that it was the right way for the country to move, but I'm sure there were some negative reflections on it as well. As a journalist, I would like to see both sides. Let's see, I'm not clicking on medical societies because that's very specific, not quite as broad. Reflections on the first half century of Brown v. Board. That's also, I'm not going to click on that one because that is also opinion related. Now we need some more factual information. News results. Brown versus Board of Education. Definitely look at news results. I find that it's an accurate glimpse into history at the time, even though they're definitely biased. This was written in last year in May. How's that? This is the 60th anniversary article for Brown v. Board. I don't quite find that as useful as I thought it would be, because I thought it would be a historical article. Modern doesn't help me. Well, let's go back to specific regards to Warren Wilson, if we can find any. I added Warren Wilson to the search engine. See if we can find something more specific. All these are still broad. It might be useful to just search for Warren Wilson history itself. So how about Warren Wilson College in the 50s? Added integration to be more narrow. Getting stuff about music, not helpful. That's Birmingham, skipping that. A film, Hollywood cartoons. My search was not specific enough. Maybe if I put quotations around Warren Wilson College instead of just sending me random people named Warren. Okay, greater than equal African American struggles for schools and citizenships in North Carolina from 1919 to 1965. Written in 2013, so a modern text. But it's an ebook focusing specifically on this time period, published by University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. So I would find it reliable, but I would definitely look into backing up all of its facts.